the next level in the Wily Fortress stages is not actually a long level. In fact, it's shorter than level 2 in the Wily stages, but it's definitely not sweet. And it does kind of have a similar layout to level 2 as well, just set up differently. So you're greeted with quite a few obstacles here, with these little Bink warriors set up in very bad locations, and the return of this armored Met. So you gotta be careful of those enemies. Now there's a very tricky split in the path here, and you won't know it right away, but I'll show it on the alternate paths. But it actually leads you to kind of a cool area with some challenging platforming. But here you have some of the Gamayandu mini-bosses again. This one isn't too bad. Just got an obstacle of a spike pit between you and it, so you kind of have to keep your distance. But all in all, it's actually pretty easy. And here's another split in the path. Now the only way I could figure I could get this 1,000 points is if I used the rush jet going back, or maybe a very nicely timed jump onto a Yamato spear. So other than that, there's no other way to safely get back from getting those 1,000 points. Now here's where you get into some tricky platforming in the normal path of the level, and I would highly suggest using the star shield like I did there. And even then, even your best efforts is probably still not enough. So you will start all the way at the beginning, because you actually haven't reached a midpoint yet. So what you kind of want to do is you want to be at the very far edge of the last spring before you leap over to the next section. Otherwise you will not make it. Now getting those 500 points, although doable, it's just not really worth it in my opinion. The spike guard will help you, but in the end, it's only 500 points. Unless you're really dying for points, or just for bragging rights, just don't bother going for it. Here's a little Megaman segment, very similar in nature to how that level started. And a very easy one-up to get right out in the open. Although it does look suspicious, there is actually no trickery here involved. You can just go up and grab it. And here's a new one, the Colton, I think it is. He is completely invulnerable from the front, and he will turn around to face you unless he's in the middle of firing some rounds. So if you can somehow get up and jump over behind him in between rounds and shoot him from the back, that would probably be ideal. And yes, I was not at the far edge of that spring when I went to jump. But if you want to deal with the Colton, actually, you can just Centaur flash him out of existence. He's not big of an issue, but yeah, his ability to deflect all shots from the front is kind of annoying. I will admit that. Now the second Gamayandu boss is a little bit more difficult because not only do you have a spike pit between you and it, you have a conveyor belt that leads you straight into the spike pit as well. So you gotta watch out for your footing, as well as dodging all his attacks. But like earlier, not too big of an issue. This Colton is almost near impossible to get over without getting hurt. So I would suggest either using the rush coil or just Centaur flashing him out of the way. Don't jump too high in that area or those springs will bounce you right back down into the pit. And that's just not a good day for anybody. So like I said, we're already at the boss door, very short, but not sweet. And we get into one of, apparently, fan favorite boss, the Yellow Devil. That's right. He makes a return in this level. And he's got quite a few tricks up his sleeve as well. Like before, you start off in a room with just nothing, and the blocks start coming in from the left. He has a brand new pattern that I actually haven't seen in any other Mega Man to date yet. So you gotta learn his new pattern, and it never varies. So once you've learned it, it's pretty easy to combat him. And he does have this from his Mega Man 3 incarnation. And that's pretty much where the similarities stop. He has like 3 other attacks, 5 total, that can be pretty hair-raising to dodge. And he actually only has 1 weakness. 2, whoa, here's one of his new attacks. You just need to jump over the first one and then slide over the second time, and that attack is easily dodged. Unless you don't jump over soon enough, and then you'll land right into his blocks. And still get damaged. But yeah, 1 weakness, which is the magnet. Ooh, this one's a tricky one. Which is the magnet missile. And that's actually kind of a cheap weakness, but it doesn't do all that much more damage than a full Mega Buster shot. So it's up to you which one you want to use. And then if you do happen to have beaten Nightman before this point, and gotten the Night Crush, that is actually his true weakness, not the Magnet Missile. Because that will pretty much obliterate him in half the time, and in half the hits. So we've seen 4 of his 5 attacks. Hopefully he'll grace us with his 5th one, because that one is just absolute nuts. Nope, he's gracing us with the exploding one, which I think is a very clever attack. You just have to be mindful of all the pieces. And it doesn't look like he's gonna grace us with that. Oh well, it was a cool attack. And with that, we have defeated the new and improved Yellow Devil. Okay, falling into this pit, as unlikely as it seems, will lead you to another alternate path in this level. Now, I highly suggest having the Star Crash available here so you don't get damaged and then thrown into a pit. And then just be careful going across these conveyor belts. And that's pretty much all there is to it. The Star Crash comes to save the day. Yeah, because that is a lot of nut and bolts. Way too many in my opinion. To get up there, the safest way is probably the Tornado Blow. The most efficient too. And there's your E-Tank. Like I said before in an earlier video, you can only choose between a weapon tank or an E-Tank in the first couple stages where you have that option. You can't get both. So the E-Tank, in my opinion, is just as hard in this game to get, or in this level to get, as the weapon tank. And you shall see that soon enough. And this just links you back up to the main path. Now we saw this right after the first mini-boss. You can clear that out with a Power Stone or a Night Crush and then just leap up there with the Rush Coil, and then you have this little interesting room to get through. You want to climb the ladders just as they're firing or after they've just fired, or you'll get hit just like I did. You can also jump over this Colton, but it's easier just to flash him out. Okay, now this is where it gets a little tricky. I would recommend the Star Crash, but... Oh, and that 1,000 points down there, it's doable, just like the 500 points from earlier in the video, but I just wouldn't recommend it. Now there's the W-Tank, which we just passed, and you're going to need the Spark Shock to get it. So you're going to have to navigate these dropout platforms. And there you go, you've claimed your W-Tank. A little bit harder than previous. And this just links you back up to the main path. Okay, the Yellow Devil, I had to go back and keep playing him until he actually gave me what I wanted, which was his 5th attack I kept talking about. And here it is. Yeah, I bet you weren't expecting this nonsense. So not only do you have to worry about the blocks up, or the pieces up top trying to fall on you, you have to worry about them bouncing across too. So that is a very, very hectic attack, and good luck to any perfect runners who happen to get caught with it. So this Yellow Devil is pretty damn cool in my opinion.